My name is Karen Cooper, Director of Product Marketing here at Totango. I'm joined today by my colleagues, John Rhoads, Director of Product Management, and Brittany Reichwald, Associate Product Manager. And we're going to cover a couple of things on today's webinar. The first thing is around defining a good business review. What defines a good business review? The second is, how can you simplify your business review process? And then John and Brittany are going to take you through a couple of demos, one on our Manage Your Business Review SuccessBLOC and another on our new Totango presentation builder. And we want to try to make our presentation today a little bit interactive. So hopefully if everything works well, we'll have a couple of poll questions we'd like you to participate in and see what kind of good answers we get from the audience. So why do we always get so anxious about customer business reviews? Well, first and foremost, we've heard a lot from our customers, and I'm sure you also experience it, that this whole process and creating the business reviews, getting ready and preparing for them, it's very time consuming. You know, sometimes we hear anywhere from 3 to 4 days a quarter to more, depending on how many customers you have. The data is often in many places. So you're pulling from your CRM or your Service Cloud or other databases. And you really don't have a full, complete picture of your customer all in one place. And then we take this data and we often import it into spreadsheets where we spend more time manipulating the data, creating charts and graphs and more things, only to just take it and copy and paste it into a slide presentation. I'm sure all that sounds familiar to a lot of you. And because you're doing all these gymnastics to create your business reviews, we often wait till the last minute to schedule. And of course, you and I know our schedules and our customer schedules, we're all so busy, and really trying to get everybody together can also be very challenging. So let's start with the first poll question here. So what's at the end of the rainbow at this magical land of Oz for business reviews? So hopefully we'd love to be able to turn those days into hours, even minutes, right? Shorten that process to create the business reviews. We want to be able to pull data quickly and easily into our presentation. So no more spreadsheets, unless of course you love them. And I know there's probably a few of you out there that do, but making that process a little bit easier and making sure we don't have any missing data or incorrect data. And maybe we're going to want to start questioning that Q and QBR. You know, maybe there's a better time frame for customers, maybe more frequent or less frequent. And what does that strategic process look like? And then finally, the QBR should really be, it's part of your journey with your customer, right? And so it should be treated that way, not just a checkbox. So thinking about how you can incorporate that workflow, that process into your day-to-day to make it easier for you to manage and for your customers as well. Looks like most of you spend a couple of days. Well, I don't know, it's pretty even between days, weeks, and hours. So some interesting results there. Okay, so what defines a good business review strategy? So there's a lot of resources out there to see what goes into a good business review, what should be included. I'm sure all of you already have some of your templates ready to go and what you typically work with customers on. But I wanted to focus on a couple key areas that I think are really important to have in a business review that really will add value for your customer. So the first one is around wins, right? So where did your customer really knock it out of the park, right? Did they exceed their strategic goals? You know, were all their goals met? So really celebrate those wins. The next area is some of the challenges. So, you know, where did things not quite go right? Why didn't they go right? And what are some of those learnings? Of course, we always have the metrics and activities around all that, but rather than just showing data, make sure you're talking about those outcomes. You know, what results did all those activities and data produce? And the next is really about opportunities. You know, what's the path forward? Use this time to really promote how they can use your product or your service more and expand on those wins, right? And then finally, make some recommendations. Where can they improve? What are some of those next steps for them? So let's talk a little bit here now about how you can simplify your business review process. So first and foremost, I think it's important to start thinking about how you can establish a proactive business review strategy. Now, Brittany's going to talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes, but really having a good workflow and a process of how you approach your business reviews is going to lower that anxiety level quite a bit here. Next, we know that every customer is different and one size doesn't fit all. And so being able to easily customize your presentation for each customer and what they'd like to see, is important in creating these reviews and also being able to manage them appropriately. Next, the ability to auto-populate with real-time data. So being able to pull the actual data in, no more back and forth from spreadsheets, knowing you have the correct data. There's not going to be any wrong data or missing data. It's the right data for the right customer. That's really important. And then finally, there's going to be times when we might need to make some changes on the fly, quickly change a data point, or be able to make a quick change to a presentation that just happened that you wanted to let your customer know about. So being comfortable about that and being able to make those changes quickly and easily is important. Okay, we're going to switch gears here a little bit and talk about managing your business reviews. So we're going to do our next poll question here. Okay, so before I turn this over to Brittany, I wanted to introduce a couple of key areas in the Totango platform that I think are important. So the first one is our customer journey marketplace. And this is a free resource that Totango has that is a collection of what we call toolkits for each one of the journey stages that gives you pre-built best practice templates, KPIs, playbooks, things like that. We call these success blocks, and Brittany's going to go over that in a few minutes. But for those of you who are new to Totango, I wanted to kind of introduce this to you. We have these success blocks for each of these different journey stages. Next is our customer experience canvas. This is within our Totango platform. This is where we actually manage all of our journeys. So this is a visual workspace where you can bring your journey stages in, map each of these journeys with different tracks, build your journey, rearrange your journey however you want to run it, be able to put in your tasks and touch points, your people-based type activities, as well as all your digital engagement activities right into that workspace. And then right from the workspace, you're able to sort of measure those results, see how things are working, be able to spot issues and quickly pivot and make changes and share and collaborate within this workspace. So let's see the results of that last poll here, and then we'll turn it over to Brittany. So let's see, about 36% of you, the majority says that sales and CS collaborate regularly on business reviews. So that's great to see. And the next one here is business reviews are managed individually by CSMs with no formal tracking. So that's a good number of you too. So some interesting data there. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Brittany, and talk about our new success block.
Wonderful. Thank you, Karen. All right, let's head over to our new Managed Business Review Success Block. And first, let's talk about what a success block is. So like Karen said, a success block is kind of an out-of-the-box toolkit to ensure that you can get your process and customer journey up and running quickly. We want to provide you with all of the tools to do that. And as you can see here, a success block is made up of several components, including the scorecard. So the scorecard is a great way to visualize all of your KPIs and the goals that you associate with those KPIs. So here you can see one of the main goals is ensure on-time business reviews. You want to make sure that you're staying on top of those, and you want to have clear visibility if you are falling behind in any of those areas. So here we also have a breakdown of health, CSM, and tier. So you have great visibility into where those overdue business reviews are, and you can dig deeper into those. Now, the next goal is deliver consistent and valuable business reviews. So your business reviews at the end of the day are for your customers. You want to make sure you're providing quality business reviews. And pieces that go into that is things like success planning, including the right people, like your key contacts. And then this also gives you visibility here into what's coming up in the next 30 days. So where your team is spending time and effort and what happened in the last 90 days. All right, and the next goal here is engage your at-risk customers. So business reviews are a great way. You want to try to re-engage them, get them on the call, show value. So we just have kind of a section here to highlight who those might be, what that contract value looks like, where they are in that risk process, and any accounts that are in poor health. All right, and next, let's take a look at our customer experience canvas. So our canvas here is built around the process for managing your business review. So each one of these is a track. So we have a track for each part of the process, including schedule, deliver, follow-up, and of course your feedback loop. So the schedule business review track has a success play with one task. It's schedule your business review. Simple and straightforward. And as soon as this is scheduled, as a part of the post-task completion, so within the task directly, it's going to ask your team, when did you schedule that for? And automation drives this entire process, making sure that you don't fall behind and also making sure that your team doesn't need to put, calendar reminders to say, oh, their business reviews in 30 days. Let's make sure to do the prep work. This is all built in for you. So the next track we have is deliver. And the delivery includes things like reviewing your success plan. What did you discuss last time? Are you still on par with the expectations and the objectives that you had talked about? Doing your account deep dive. So you want to make sure what you're presenting to your customer is valuable for them. Is that the right data? And then the last here is generating your business review presentation, which John will dive into shortly. Now, the follow-up piece. It's incredibly important to make sure when you're doing business reviews, you are in alignment with your customers and they know that there is a follow-up process that you're going to follow. So here we have follow-up via email, make sure you're in alignment, clearly list out what the objectives and what the discussion was, and then update that success plan within Totango so that you as a CSM can manage that and make sure you're staying on top and driving those initiatives. Now, this next piece is great because it's the automation piece. So it's going to automatically look at the last business review date and assume when the next one should be based on your business. So by default, out of the box, this block assumes it should be in 90 days. And then it reminds your CSM to schedule that. So full circle loop here to ensure that you really can't fall behind if you have all of these enabled. And the last track here is for feedback. So again, the business review is for your customer. You want to make sure that you're presenting what is valuable to them. So this is actually a survey that by default goes out twice a year to anybody who participated in a business review with you to just say, hey, give us some feedback. How do you rate the value of your business review? And then when they fill it out, there's an automatic notification that's going to show up for your CSM so they can follow up and you can adjust those business reviews based on what your customers want to see. And the next tab, let's take a look at assets. So assets are a great place to store any of your best practices, your business review templates, any FAQs, and really any documentation that your entire team needs access to. This is a good source of truth to say, okay, come in here and here's all the documentation. And out of the box, we've got the business review template folder. And in that folder, we have 2 business review templates already there for you. Now, you don't have to use ours. These are just, we wanted to give you a good starting point. You're more than welcome to link your PowerPoint, whether that's in Google Drive, whether you want to upload that to this folder as well. And if there's more than one template and you're not 100% sure which one you should use, you can easily click the preview icon and it's going to show you which template that is. So you don't actually have to download it. You can preview it, make sure it's up to date. And if it needs to be updated, you can easily update it or link to it. Now, with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to John to show you what the presentation generator process looks like.
Awesome, thank you. And before we do that, what we're going to do, thank you for the demo, Brittany. Before we go into the presentation builder demo, we do have one last request or
Poll question.
survey or poll question. Thank you, Karen. And basically, we want to find out. So when we began the process of doing our presentation builder, we polled a lot of our customers and a lot of our focus groups out there to find out how much time were you spending pulling those together. And we found out there was just a number of different opportunities that were out there. And are we going to pull up that poll question? So. So we asked, and we got, like I said, a number of different. We had some who had an automated process that was in place that just automatically reached out and kind of pulled everything together into a nice, neat package. Some of them were pulling from 2 or 3 sources. Some were pulling from more than 3 sources, and some of them really didn't have a plan. So, so if you want to take a look, why don't you answer that question, and I'll go ahead and pull up the presentation builder. So we've already got some. So it's from 2 or 3 sources. That's pretty consistent with what we heard from a lot of other folks out there. So I'm going to pull up just a sample customer so I can show you how easy this process works. And one of the things is we talked to a lot of our customers out there. They focused on a few things that they were really looking for in the process of building out their customer presentations. They wanted the ability to customize because every customer, as Karen said, is a little bit different. Some customers measure specific things that aren't important to maybe a larger set of customers. In addition to that, there was a need for flexibility. There are changes all the way up to when you're sitting in the parking lot at the customer's location getting ready to go in and deliver that, or you're on Zoom and 30 minutes before there's been some change that you want to make sure that you make a note of because your presentation is necessarily incomplete if you don't have that. But the main focus was on time saving, right? The ability to not have to go out and look at 4 different reports from this location or 7 different reports from that location and do a screen grab or those sorts of things and pull that into a PowerPoint presentation. So the idea was we want to be able to take a template, right, that's specific to that customer or that group of customers, and we want to be able to pull the information out of our system in real time. And so I'm actually going to show you the way that our system is built in terms of the demo that I'm going to show you. Any PowerPoint presentation can work. So I'm going to show you an example for just a discussion point. So here's a presentation, and all we've really done here is gone through and laid out the format that we wanted to present information to the customer. Now, the important thing for you to remember is your format can be radically different than this. The only thing that's going to change with our presentation generator is this item right here, right? And so you don't have to remember that. We're actually going to provide you a tool that gives you the ability to pull all of those attributes or those charts or those tables in real time. So you don't have to remember those. We actually give you a tool to download those. So all you really have to do is drag and drop those into your presentation. And the really cool thing too is you have the ability to customize this. So for example, as Brittany showed you in the SuccessBLOC, if your organization has a specific standard for the way that they want to do QBR, but that client, you're allowed to use specific brand standards for that client, you can actually change these. So for example, if this is the template, that's great. But if the customer must always have their name in red, it's as simple as taking the data tag, which I'm going to show you, and literally pasting it in and changing the color to red. And so when it pulls the information out of the system in real time, it'll populate in the format of your template. So I'm going to minimize this and actually show you how the process works. So when you go into the application under our quick add menu, our quick action menu, you'll actually see a new functionality all the way at the bottom called generate presentation. And that's going to pull up all of your available presentations. And let's just say these are the ones that are authorized by your organization, but there's a special one that you use for that one really high touch customer. It's as simple as going to upload template, and you can actually browse your locations to actually pull in that information. So if there's something specific for that high touch customer and they have a specific type of template, you can upload that as part of the normal flow. And in terms of finding out your data tags, very, very simple process. So let's just say in my template, this customer is super concerned about contract value. I can literally go here and in real time find my data tags. So for example, let's just say I want to do a chart that shows the contract value over the last 180 days. I would simply go in here. I can get it as text, but in this case, I want a chart. And let's call that 180 days. And we'll just put contract in here and it will pull up all the attributes and you'll see contract value here at the bottom. And so it's as simple as I can do the kind of the old highlight and right click, or I can actually just use the tool here to copy it. And I would simply just paste that into my PowerPoint presentation. So that's a little bit about how easy it is to deal with the template, but let me actually show you how we will actually produce a real-time presentation. So let's go ahead and just choose one that I've preloaded. I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it demo 321. And I will click generate, and you'll see that the process is in place. And while we're waiting on the final, well, which is already there, but let's go ahead and put up the answer to the last survey question that we put up. And I think if I remember correctly, most of you were pulling from 2 or 3 sources. So think about this in terms of what I just showed you. So as opposed to having to go to multiple places and pulling multiple reports within this location, right? What you can actually do, and we'll go ahead and close that out. Thanks, Lorena. So we'll go ahead and open the presentation. So you can do it a couple of different ways. So let's just say you'll get this little snack bar that'll tell you, hey, your presentation's ready. If you're doing 1,000 other things and you want to get to it later, no problem. You can simply dismiss it and it holds it in your asset tab. Or I can just actually open it on the fly. And let's go ahead and do that. And one of the other things I'll show you as it opens it up, I always recommend that when you pull it open, go ahead and download a version of it as well, because that actually, there's a little trick. In fact, I'll pull this up for you. So you'll see every place where there was a data tag inside the template, it's gone through and in real time pulled that information across. So it pulled the information across in real time. It pulled my domain name. It pulled the current contract value. It pulled just different business objectives that I've listed. It's pulled a real-time report that I've got here in a chart format. And I'm actually going to show you one of the things I really like about this approach. So once you've downloaded it, because we've chosen to insert this as an object in PowerPoint, as opposed to a meta file or a picture, you have the functionality in PowerPoint that a lot of you have come to really rely on, which is, let's say I really don't like this in the format of a line chart, and I think it really belongs in a column chart. So actually I have the ability to go in real time and change that to a column chart, right? You can also change it to a pie chart or whatever type of chart you think is important. And then let's say that there's been a recent change that you haven't had a chance to insert into the underlying information in Excel. You actually, because we insert this as an Excel object, you actually have the ability to get into the underlying data and edit that in Excel, and it will be reflected in the chart as well. So the only other thing I would tell you is if you do make those changes, make sure that when you resave that to your assets tab, you resave that under a different name, because you've gone out of the system to make that change. So you just need to make sure that when you put it back into the system, you save it under a different file name. Okay. But the way that we've really designed the system is to make sure that it is incredibly flexible. You're not locked into any one particular format. You can change those formats to suit whatever the need is of your specific customer. And the goal here is to save you an awful lot of time to pull that information in real time. And also you can populate this with individual. We've inserted kind of placeholder blank slides that will give you the ability to go in and insert things that are more free form. So you'll always have those things that are specific to your customers that will be things that you kind of need to free form, executive summaries and those sorts of things. So you'll always have the ability to insert those slides as well, because those will change from customer to customer. So that's really kind of the end of it. It's a very, very simple process. Takes, as you saw, less than a minute to produce a template, to turn a template into a report that you can actually put in front of a customer. So at that point, I'm going to hand it, Karen, back over to you.
Great, John. Thanks, John. Thanks, Brittany. So we've reached the end of the rainbow. We're at the end of our Yellow Brick Road. And just to summarize a little bit about what we've talked about today, some key takeaways we'd like to leave you with is make sure you're thinking about establishing a proactive business review process. Have a strategy, create the workflows, be able to manage that and monitor that so you know that that's working well for you. Second, question the Q and QBR. As once you get this business review process established, it might help you be a little bit more proactive, maybe having these reviews a little bit more frequently with customers, maybe less frequently with other customers, whatever that picture may look like for you. Again, make sure you have your business reviews about outcomes. We talked about the wins and the opportunities and challenges. Use the data to really create value for your customers and show them how they can do more with your product and where they're going to have the best successes. And as John just showed you, kind of being able to simplify building your presentation, saving you time to pull in all the data, create that presentation and be able to make changes quickly. And last, I think, one size doesn't fit all, right? It's very challenging to have a standard business review template for every customer. Every customer is a little bit different, and you want to be able to make it personal and be able to customize it for each of your customers. So having a process, having a platform and a format by which you can do that is really important. So with that, we thank you for joining us for today. We have a few minutes left for questions. So if you want to put your questions in the Q&A box there, and while we're waiting for a few questions, just wanted to give you some information on some upcoming events that we have. The first one is another webinar at the end of the month here. And Ali Irvin, Director of Customer Success with Extreme Networks, and our own Elizabeth Tajanar, Senior Customer Success Manager, are going to be talking about how Extreme Network has leveraged Totango to really build their customer success program from the ground up. And then our second thing here that we have, we're actually doing an in-person event in the Atlanta area. If any of you are in that area, please come join. We welcome you to connect with us. And we're going to have some customer success experts talking about how you can retention-proof your customer success journeys. So a little bit of a networking event. And if you're interested, you can sign up here at the link here from our website. And just one last piece, for those of you, again, who are new to Totango, would like to maybe try out the presentation builder, see what Totango can do for you and for your customer success program. We have a free community edition, and you can sign up and get started today right from our website. And thank you very much.